You need to be very careful when you're doing stuff, particularly when you have new paint. Shoot. What's up guys, my name is Andy. On my 66 Fastback, the hinges on my hood are, well, they're the original hinges, and you know, they're 50 plus years old and they're starting to wear out, and there's a lot of play in them, and I'm actually having a problem lining the hood because of how they fit, and they don't sit where I want, and when you lift up the hood, there's a little bit of play in it, and there's time to replace these things. So I went ahead and got a new set of just replacement OEM style hinges that I want to put on my car. Now, of course, I'd love to do those fancy, you know, hydraulic hinges that you see on a lot of show cars and stuff like that. They're real smooth action, real slick looking billet parts, but I don't have $500-600 to spend on a set of hinges right now. These are a pretty cheap option to just upgrade what I have and get it back to where I'm going. I do want to point out, if you do get something like this, just a heads up, you're going to want to spray some lubricant on the joints here and get this thing kind of freed up a little bit. It's pretty stiff out of the package, depending on how long it's been sitting on the shelf. You know, this looks like when they collapse them and then they paint them or something. I don't know, there's a lot of heat missing from behind the hinge when you open it up. But anyways, so if you just want to get some lubrication on there and just work them a little bit, I just ended up putting, you know, my foot on this ledge right here and then just lifting up with this part and just kind of pushing up and then pushing down, and just do that a couple times just to get them to loosen up a little bit. So when I put them on the car, I'm not, you know, reefing on the hood to get these things to close. So we're gonna jump right in, get these old hinges out of there and get these new hinges installed. The first thing I want to do is take the springs off these hinges. Now I have a fiberglass hood, so I actually have lighter springs on here, so it'll be a little easier for me to remove these. But if you guys have the stock steel hood, these are going to be a lot higher spring rate, and so they're going to be a lot harder to move. So you need to be really careful with those. You can do this by yourself. We'll do the whole thing by myself, but just a heads up that if you have the stock hood, these are going to be really, really tough springs. So we're going to want to prop the hood up with a stick when we're done, because once you take those springs out, these hinges are going to want to collapse. So get yourself a stick. I got an old broom handle here. We'll use this to prop the hood when it comes time. And I'm just going to use a set of vice grips to grab a hold of the spring and pull it off the end and get it off here. If I just pull on it, see how it just comes right off? Again, like I have these lighter springs, so that was pretty easy to do. And I'm already noticing that, see, the hood's already fallen because the other spring is not enough to hold the hood up. So we'll use this broom handle, and this is not a good idea. This is a fiberglass hood, so this hood's really light, but this will prop it up for now. Again, we're just trying to take the tension off the springs. We'll support the hood later when we need to do the hinges, but for now, this is just enough just to keep it open. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So from here we have 5 bolts that we're going to want to take out. There's 3 in the fender. This is going to be the driver's side one that I'm doing first. So you got these 2 here and this one in the back. This is actually sitting in the fender like this. So you've got those 3, and then you've got the 2 in the hood. I went ahead and bought new fasteners. You buy a whole kit, you get all 10 fasteners, you know, for 5 for each side. So I went ahead and did that. The fasteners I have are fine, but it just freshens up the whole engine bay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the 2 on the hood that are right here. I'm going to put a towel underneath that corner of the hood to prop it up so that it will be supported and won't fall down and gouge up my paint, all that kind of stuff. Then I can take the 3 down here and pull this hinge off of the fender apron. So this is that towel. I'm just going to prop this underneath here, and again, it's not going to meant to hold the whole hood up, just enough so that I can rest on it and it's not going to chip up my paint. When I took the hood off to replace this, I had marked my hinges where the bolts were so that I can get the hood in more or less alignment. And unfortunately with something like this, you're going to have to realign the whole hood. I've got hood pins, so I still have to manage that. If you were doing a new hood, this would be a great time to do new hinges to go through a new hood, but I can't mark this to know where the bolt needs to be, because if I were to mark the hood, the bolt will be with the hood. So I'm going to just have to kind of guess where I was at before, and then we'll align it when I'm done. And we're just going to use a 1/2 inch socket here. And it's always better to do this one first and this one last, because as the hood leans forward, it's being supported by this, so we can take this one out last. If you take that one out first, then it wants to pivot on this bolt and you can start to damage that nut that's inside there. Now I'm holding the hood with my hand, and what I've got going on here is the hood prop I have is wanting to move it around, so I'm going to reposition this hood prop so that I can set this down Let's see if I can redo this a little bit better. There we go. Now it's being supported. Cool, so now the hood is, the hood corner is in the towel and I'm not gouging up the paint. Let's go ahead and get these 3 other bolts out of here. You know, while you're in here, now's a good time to go ahead and let's just clean up this area. I'm not gonna repaint anything here, but I can get this cleaned up. All right, so now we're ready to put the new hinge in, and it's obviously gonna go right in the same spot as it was before. We're not gonna worry about tightening the bolt all the way down because we're gonna have some fine adjustments we're gonna have to do. But here's those new fasteners that I was talking about. So we'll just throw those guys in here and start getting everything in place. All right, see there's a little bit of play here, that's good. We're gonna need to do that as I think what we need to do actually is pivot about this one on the bottom here, and we'll tighten those 2 as we get there. But for now, let's get the hood connected to the top part of this hinge, then we can go to the other side. And I went ahead and just tightened these ones down because I need it to be firmly held on the hinge here, but we can leave these loose a little bit. So just like the other side, we're gonna put this towel under there and we'll go through the whole same process again and just get everything, oh, come on. Get everything in place so that we can swap out this hinge. All right, now we got, really we got the easy part done, because aligning these hinges is where all of the finesse comes in. Now, we should probably put the springs on here, but before I want to do that real quick, I'm just gonna show you, when you take this prop out of here, we can go ahead and the hood drops really easy, but what you're gonna notice is that lifting it back up, it's gonna be a little bit of work, because you gotta work those hinges in. If the springs are on there, that would help them quite a bit, but what I'm noticing right now is I can see in that corner back there that if I let this down all the way, I might rub the end of the hood on the fender, so I'm gonna have to move some stuff around. And I wanna get this hood centered a little bit better before I even drop it down. I can tell that the whole hood can go that way a little bit. See, this is what I'm talking about. You can see how it's over the edge there. So as the hood folds down, it might move a little bit. And I remember having this problem on my setup before, on those old hinges that I had in here, but this is not something that I want. Now it's not touching right now, but it is really close. So I'm gonna loosen up the hinges and shift the hood that way just a little bit. Then we can start looking at closing the gap. Now I'm noticing that it didn't really do a whole lot with just trying to move those over. There's not a lot of play left and right in the slots there. What I don't want to do is start bending the hinges. It's possible that the mount locations on my fender aprons are, the car's not square or whatever you want to call that. So I did have that problem on my hood before I put these hinges in. So it may, when this thing's collapsed, it might work itself out, but I just wanted to see if I could adjust it a little bit. I'm gonna put those springs on so that'll help open this hood as I go open and close, trying to line this stuff up. And we're just gonna go in the reverse order that I took these off. And I mean, these springs are so light, I might be able to, just do them by hand because these springs are so light for this fiberglass hood. All right, so now the hood will hold itself open, which is great. And as we close this down, it's already working better over there. Yeah, see the hinge is not even, or the hood's not closed all the way, and it's already moved over. So it's got to be something with maybe the fender aprons are tweaked a little bit. Now there's a lot bigger gap on this side, but the next thing I want to do is start working on this gap, and then of course I've got to line up the pins with the hood and everything. And the downside with my hood is that I drilled the location of these pins based on those old hood hinges that I had. And because they're kind of rickety and move around a lot, there might have been a better place for these to move over, like maybe 1/8 of an inch or something like that. But I'm gonna have to deal with what I've got here and try to make it work. So now I'm gonna try to finish closing the hood here. And I can already tell up in the front that the pins are binding a little bit, but there's a massive gap here. So I need to move the hood that way. This gap along here isn't looking too bad, but this is where it's gonna take a lot of patience to come in here and line all this stuff up. Yeah, I gotta come this way and back to get everything to line up, right? Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lock down the 3 bolts in the fender apron. And what that will do is that's gonna set the back of the hood up and down. So I'm gonna lock those in because it looked like it was pretty good there, but I can fiddle with that stuff and then I can start messing with the position of the hood. All right, guys, so I'm at kind of the limit of my expertise. I've spent the last hour tweaking and moving and loosening and tightening and just trying to get this thing to line up perfect. And the best I can do is basically where the hood was before. I'm still having an issue where, so this gap along here doesn't look too bad, but it's a little wide over here. I think I need to tweak the hood just a little bit, kind of, but this is where every time I do something, it seems like I take a step back, have to start over, and it's just something that this is not my wheelhouse, right? So I'm better off taking it to a body guy and see if he can line it up perfect. We're talking about like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch at most in some spots. You know, for this car, it's fine. It's not what I want, but guys, I'm not figuring it out. This is something that's beyond me. So also, yeah, you need to be very careful when you're doing stuff, particularly when you have new paint. Shoot, I was trying to, there's a little, here, let's see, open this up. So there is this metal tab here that supports this, this hood to cowl gasket piece. And I was trying to just bend it just ever so slightly, just so this would sit underneath the lip of the hood here, and I smacked it. Now I got to repair that. But yeah, for those that watch my video about my paint, this is the kind of stuff that I don't want it to ruin my day. I'm not happy about it, and I'm kind of upset. This is my fault. Shouldn't have been so careless. But those are the kind of things on a $20,000, $30,000 paint job that would just ruin your day. It really would. And I don't want to have to worry about stuff like that. I don't like it, but you know, I'm going to move on. I'm going to touch it up with some spray paint stuff. I got a can of the paint from this, the Wimbledon white. My painter guy put the leftover of it in a spray can, so I'm just going to mask this off and spray that. But anyways, so be careful with that kind of stuff. But if we close the hood here, you can see that there's still kind of a gap. It's a little wider than we want it to be back here, but if I pull that corner in, then I have problems where these pins don't align. This is one of the downsides of having hood pins like this, is there's just not a lot of play, you know, around these pins. So, and that's partially because of where I set this up when I originally did the pins. So I'm gonna have to deal with that some other time. But anyways, yeah, other than that, the hood hinges are doing their thing and it opens up. Everybody's happy. So yeah. All right, guys, anyways, that's a new set of hood hinges. Really easy to do. You can do it by yourself. The alignment part, you may get lucky and things may fall into place for you pretty easily. You know, there's lots of tips and stuff on, you know, if you raise the hinge, it sucks the back down and that kind of, and there's some of that kind of stuff, but that's outside of what I can do. I just haven't messed with that stuff for long enough to know all those little tips and tricks and that kind of stuff. But the hinges look fantastic. They look brand new, which is what I wanted. And, it all works. Now I can put the hood back down and get back out on the road and drive. Cool. All right, guys, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you subscribe, I appreciate it because it helps my channel out. And we'll see you in the next one.